Just waiting for a few people to jump on. Hi everybody. Hi everybody, welcome to Women's Warehouse Wow Session, Words of Wisdom. So today we are going to be talking about what month it is. It's the month of Easter. It's April, Jesus' death, His resurrection. But April also signifies Sexual Awareness Month. Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And this is something that affects most women in this country. And in actual fact, every 10 seconds, a woman is either murdered, raped, or abused, or molested. And that is a scary statistic in this country. And as Women's Warehouse, we have 5 pillars to our business, and safety is one of our pillars. And we want to educate the public out there, and we want to educate you ladies there what your rights are, what the difference is between violent sexual assault and just sexual harassment. And we're going to talk about that today, and we're just going to talk about also just from a legal perspective what your rights are.
Did you know that it's the 21st anniversary of Sexual Assault Awareness Month?
I was not aware of that.
It is. And for me, the scary thing is, and that's why we are having these conversations with you ladies, is that after 21 years,
we're still sitting with this problem.
We're still sitting with the problem. And I mean, even the law has put in, I read somewhere it goes, because we know that South Africa is a violent country, and I mean, that's from the Embassy of Finland. It's scary that we have been labelled with that.
Yes.
And 21 years later, globally, it hasn't got worse. It hasn't got better, it's actually gone worse.
No, it's scary. So let's talk about it. So the first one we want to talk about, there's basically 2 areas to sexual assault. And the first one is violent sexual assault. So what is violent sexual assault? So I've written down a definition, so I'm just going to read that to you. So sexual violence means that someone forces or manipulates someone else into unwanted sexual activity without their consent. So that's basically rape, is a sexual assault, a violent sexual assault, even attempted rape. You know, if somebody's got a knife to your throat and he's trying to pull your pants down, and we teach you how to actually get out of that situation. Then, of course, we have child sexual assault, and this happens more often than what we would, that we actually even know about, which is quite scary, and it's incest, you know. You know, that's, I read on the news the other day that, it was actually yesterday, that somebody was arrested for sexually assaulting a goat. I mean, I just don't know where people's minds are when it comes to this kind of thing. But it's just cruel and it's violent as well.
And the goat's got rights as well.
Yes, well, animal rights, yes.
Yeah.
And then it's unwanted sexual conduct, which is touching, can be forcible, forcing themselves on you, and then forcing you to act out sexual acts like oral sex. And it's sexual exploitation at the end of the day, and that falls under your violent sexual harassment or sexual assault. Then we want to talk about just standard sexual harassment and what it is, because there's a lot of things here on this list. There's over 20 points that we want to quickly touch on that a lot of women don't know is sexual harassment. And the other thing is like you said, we're saying earlier, is women actually allow this. This is how bad it is in our society, that, and we're so desensitized to women being harassed, sexually harassed, that we think it's just the norm.
Yeah. And that was scary. Nadine and I were going through the list, you know, just in prepping for our WOW session, and I actually couldn't believe how many happened. One happened yesterday, one happened the day, and we just, you know, we are so desensitized with the violence in our country that we just carry on and more is nog gedag, and we carry on doing, and this is where we're saying now that these are opportunities for you to take your power back, for you to understand that it's not okay. And, you know, just looking at the sexual violence is that a lot of women, it's a form of abuse. Yes. So if it's happening, even if you're married, just because you're married, and I think I want to just go back to that C word, consent. Yes. Consent is covered under marriage as well. Just because he's your husband doesn't mean, and that falls under that. I think we sometimes separate ourselves from sexual violence and go, well, we're married and, you know.
No, it's consensual.
And it's consensual. It's a form of abuse, and that is what we talk about in our safety workshops as well.
Yeah. You know, and I think that, ladies, I want to remind you today that you are, you know, created in a certain way. You know, you created as a nurturer. You created as somebody that is an easer. This is what Women's Warehouse stands for. You, the strong tower.
Yes.
You know, you're not just a helper. And that word helper, we get that wrong. You're an easer, and you're a strength.
Yeah, a stronghold.
You are the one that supports when your husband can't. You're the one that is the backbone to everything. And when we allow sexual harassment into our lives and we just brush it off, it actually takes something away from your womanhood.
Absolutely.
And for me, that's wrong. And when somebody does something, you don't have to be nasty or anything. Just say to them, that's inappropriate. Please don't do that again.
Yes, absolutely.
And people will know that, you know, you've got boundaries. And you can't step over those boundaries. And it's okay to have boundaries. And I think it's important to have boundaries.
And I also think, and what Nadine so rightfully said, is that if we continue to allow it, it sort of erodes your moral, your moral boundaries. Yeah. So, I mean, we tell kids, it always brings me back to my kids. When we were growing up, jy moet die tannie soen, jy moet die oom soen. You must kiss the auntie, you must kiss the uncle, or any family member, even if you knew that one family member wasn't
great job.
But slowly, you're without them knowing, they actually stopped you from allowing those boundaries to go. I don't feel comfortable
with that. Yeah.
That doesn't make me happy. And I think it's a generation of that, and that is why we allow some of the things in. You're going to have some of them. I was like, oh, is that really on that list? Okay. But I think that's where we need to understand, even from our children. We need to not prepare them, and we don't need to throw them in the ugly, but we need to let them know what sexual violence is and sexual harassment. It's okay if you don't want to kiss the uncle. Yes. It's okay if you don't want to hug the auntie. Yes. Don't force them to do things that they don't want to do. I think that sort of just came to me now.
Yeah, and I think that just highlights it. Mm-hmm. So let's have a look at what they are. Let's just give you the definition of what sexual harassment is. So I've written it down as well. So unwelcome sexual advances. Unwelcome sexual advances. Requests for sexual favors and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. Now, and I also want to just put it out there, you know, because Hollywood is so open to sex and sex scenes in almost every movie that you watch, or almost every sitcom that you watch, and in those sitcoms, they actually do some of these things. Yes. And we are so desensitized to it that we think that somebody in a sitcom can do it, so it's okay. And we allow that in our lives. So ladies, just be mindful, and I think at the end of the day, use wisdom. Okay. Unwanted pressure for sexual favors. I mean, that's a given. I mean, if somebody comes to you and pressurizes you, and I think you find this a lot in the workplace. Yeah. You know, where somebody will pressurize you to do something when you don't want to do it, and you know there's a promotion, or you know there's money or something involved in it, and you're desperate. That's what that really means at the end of the day. Then there's obviously your deliberate touching, leaning over, cornering or pinching, and that's a big one. I think again this is to do with the work environment. You know, somebody coming and touching you, rubbing you.
Yeah, it's not okay.
It's not okay. It's uncomfortable. You've got a boundary. You know, and then also when somebody's leaning over you, I have found that with myself, where I actually had a manager that was sexually harassing me.
Oh.
And yeah, it's a horrible story, but we're not going to talk about that today. But this thing about actually leaning over you, it is, you know, when you're busy working, and he's coming over you and he's talking to you here and touching your hands.
I just want to do a colour.
That's what it is. And trust me, I had that happen to me, and it was a horrible feeling.
It's awful.
And then also pinching, you know, I think that this is sometimes where, and women do this as well, so ladies, please don't do this, because just as much as an invasion of our bodies, where somebody comes and pinches you on your bum, or even on your arm or whatever, it's looked at as sexual harassment, even in a playful manner. Don't do it. And don't let anybody do it to you. So then there's the unwanted sexual looks and gestures. So that's a big one. Then we're having unwanted letters, telephone calls, or materials of a sexual nature. That's self-explanatory.
So if you're getting those pictures, tell them it's harassment.
Yeah, so somebody is sending you nude photos and you don't want them.
It's not okay.
It's not okay. And that's quite a big thing as well now.
Apparently it's the biggest thing. So you just, and all of a sudden you get pictures. No. I will put you, name you and shame you, and you will go on some sort of form of social media.
That's sexual harassment as well.
Well, they still do that. Okay.
Noted.
Noted.
Okay, unwanted pressure to date. So this goes back to red flags, ladies. We had a seminar, a workshop on red flags. If somebody's forcing you to take you on a date or taking you to places where you don't want to go, and this is a big thing where people want to do swingers clubs and things like that, and you don't want to do it, that is harassment.
Wow.
You're not allowed to do that.
Wow.
So unwanted sexual teasing, jokes, remarks, or questions. So again, you know, people talking about your intimate part of your life, it's harassment. Not allowed to do that.
And how often do people just tease about it, or and you just like carry on?
No, you don't, and you don't say.
Don't actually realize.
Here's a big one: referring to an adult as a girl, a hunk, a doll, a babe, or honey.
Not acceptable.
It's not acceptable. Somebody just call you honey or darling or babe.
It's workplace.
In the
There's
workplace.
no place for it.
No.
If you're in a corporate environment, check your policies and procedures. It's not professional. It's it's not professional at all. Don't allow it.
Whistling at somebody. So that when you're walking down the street and a guy goes, I can't whistle, go. I can't do that, but some people can. That whistling is sexual harassment.
But now you're talking about what we see. How many times do you see wolf whistling on cartoons?
Yes.
With
All the
children.
time.
And the funny thing, I'm just going to divert slightly, is that there was a big thing with Disney now, with human trafficking, sex trafficking, and what they're doing from the indoctrination perspective, what our kids are watching. So even what our children are watching, we need to be mindful
and careful of what you expose your children to.
It, unbeknownst to you.
And then cat calls, that's another one. Sexual comments, you know. And sexual comments can be anything like your butt's looking great today, or you know, something like that. So anything to do with your body parts, you can't say that. Turning work discussions into sexual topics. Again, this often happens in the workplace where you've got a project and you're working on a project and you happen to be working with somebody and they start turning that into a sexual sort of talking points. Not acceptable. Sexual innuendos and stories, same thing. Asking about sexual fantasies, preferences, or history. And I know, you know, we even do this with our friends. We do this in the social environment, and I'm just being open and honest. You know, when you're playing a game, and you're saying, oh, well, tell me what your sexual fantasy is. It's not cool, guys. That's got nothing to do with anybody else.
So true.
Yeah. And then people asking you personal questions about your social or sexual life, also unacceptable. And then sexual comments about a person's clothing, your body or your looks, kissing sounds, howling or smacking lips, telling lies or spreading rumors about a person's personal sex life.
But even on cyber's become a big thing now with this sexual.
Yeah. So that this what does they call it? Revenge porn.
Yeah. Yes. Be careful who you send pictures to.
Yeah, ladies, I just want to say to you that whatever photos you take on your phone is in the cloud.
The cloud sees everything.
I don't know. I'm not a techno whiz, and I know that we put all these safety things on our phones and on our computers and all of these things. But seriously, you're taking photos, nude photos, and you put it and you send it to somebody. It's in the cloud, and somewhere, somehow, somebody will get that. I'm too scared. I don't do that. I'm just too scared to do that. Use one of those old cameras. That's not linked to anything.
And not developing, not that old camera, because someone will still see.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
I love this one. Looking a person up and down elevators.
Oh,
Not allowed.
Not
allowed.
Yeah. Touching an employee's clothing, hair or body. That often happens at work as well. Touching your hair, touching your clothing, and giving personal gifts. Guys, this is a big one because this is why companies don't allow, a lot of companies, I think most companies now don't allow personal gifts. And these personal gifts can be somebody being bribed, but here it can also be sexual innuendo. So be careful about that. Hanging around a person all the time, hugging,
lingering,
hugging, kissing, patting, and stroking. I know some people are huggers, and I know Jin's a hugger.
I am.
Don't hug people. Don't.
I get consent. I ask. Do you have any personal boundaries?
But I'm just saying that can be looked at as sexual harassment, so be careful with that. Touching or rubbing oneself sexually around another person, same thing. I mean,
what?
I know it's
the fact that we have to make a list, people.
Standing close or brushing up against a person, and that's like if somebody's standing close, rubbing themselves.
It's not okay.
Looking a person up and down in the elevator, as you said earlier. Staring at someone. That can be looked at as stalking.
But it is, it's a little bit creepy.
Sexual suggestive signals also, and then facial expressions, winking, throwing kisses or licking lips. Guys?
I just want to tell you that with technology, these people have progressed to use technology. I will never forget. And I closed the phone so quickly. There was a person phoning on WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, I think Messenger. And I was trying to delete it, switch it off, and I put it on, and there was someone that was masturbating on the other side. On the other side, I just saw a brief, but surely the face, and I was like, it's a problem. I felt dirty.
Violated,
People use, I'll never forget, in our neighborhood, there were guys that used to drive past, and then they would be masturbating in their car, and the kids, you don't know what's happening around you.
That's scary.
And like with that, and unfortunately, with technology, they've been able to be in your personal space. So they can, if they got your telephone number, so be careful where you have your telephone number as well. They can make lewd phone calls, they can do funny things. It's just, I'll never forget that. I was traumatized. Another friend told me there was a guy in the traffic. Like, can you not wait till you get to work if you need to do something? But you're like, honestly.
No, don't do it.
No, don't do it in the car.
Don't do it at work. Don't do it at work.
It next to, he was doing in the bar. I don't know what people's things are, but in the toilet, like, do your thing. It's not okay.
No, it's not okay. So that's masturbating in public as well, watching someone in private act without their knowledge or permission. So voyeurism is not allowed, it's not permitted. So those are basically what your sexual harassment looks like when it's not violent. So I think, ladies, for me is that we can laugh a little bit about some of this stuff, and it is, but it's actually quite a serious situation. So for me, it is just educate yourself around this and make sure that if somebody is doing something like this to you, that you actually have a right to say, listen, I don't think that your behavior is appropriate. Please don't do that again.
Yes.
And if it is in a working environment, we're busy working with corporates now about the gender-based violence policies and procedures, and we're actually creating a safe place in a corporate environment. And go to your HR. So many people are afraid to talk to somebody. We're trying to take that stigma out of it and saying to them, actually, your HR department is a safe place where you can go and you can say, listen, this is what's happening. And we're trying to implement also, anonymous platforms where you can actually tell people what's going on in the workplace. So watch the space, get your corporates to get in touch with us, and we can help them and help you at the end of the day.
I think it's all about adding value. How do we add value? Is by a person who's being abused or harassed or a victim of sexual violence is not just going to come to you and open up. Speaking from abuse, it's creating that safe environment. And for me, we need to understand also the predator has a specific type of prey. So you need to stand up as corporate and go, this is a safe enough place for a person who might be less. I mean, I can have a little bit of a laugh at it. It was traumatizing at the time, but because I was assertive about it and said, that's not okay, don't do that. A lot of women will take it because fear of finances.
Yes.
You're in a job, you need to support your family, and predators know that. They know you're not going to say anything because maybe you need your job. So yes, this is a call out and a call to action from corporate. Start creating a safe space for women that no matter what, no matter the person, no matter the level that they're in, management, top management, that they'll be able to come and talk to you about sexual harassment or sexual violence. And then for me, we were talking about it, we were like, okay, we know what it is, but what can we do? And I found a really interesting booklet. It was on Childline. It was a Woman Know Your Rights, and I think that's very important. Again, taking back the power, and that's where Women's Warehouse, is really pioneering the fight against gender-based violence, and creating safe spaces and allowing women to take their power back if you are a victim. And then also, prevention is better than cure. How do you prevent from becoming a victim? But if you are the unfortunate person, and we always say you with God you're an overcomer and you're victorious, and no matter what has happened to you, He will turn it around for your good at the end of the day. But if you find yourself in a position, this booklet is really, really great. I mean, it's the purpose of the booklet. You have a range of rights in a relation to sexual violence, so it teaches you about what rights you have. But just going through there's an introduction, the law and policy, court judgments, what is happening in our constitution. I mean, our constitution is one of the best written constitutions in the world.
That's right.
Yet we find ourselves in this situation in South Africa. So what are your rights? There's recourse for sexual offenders. So criminal procedure, civil procedure, state liability. Also, what is the procedure? I mean, we were talking about it. We deal with women, and the vision is to create safe spaces for women from a Women's Warehouse perspective where you can come. But unfortunately, at this stage, if you are a victim, you have to go to the police. So what are your rights there?
So for me, we've heard, I don't classify everybody, but I know that a lot of women that have been sexually assaulted, violently sexually assaulted, have gone to the police station and they haven't been treated well. So I think it's very important, ladies, that if you do find yourself in a situation and you have to go and report a sexual violent sexual case, there's a couple of things. I think the first thing is always try and take somebody that you trust with you,
Please.
So that you're not alone when you go to the police station. That's not always possible, but if you can,
Yes.
get somebody to go with you. So when you find yourself in a violent situation like that, the first thing is that you obviously need to phone a family member or a friend, a close friend,
Yes.
that can help you and actually take you. Because after being assaulted, you are so traumatized that you actually are not thinking straight, and for you to drive yourself to the police station is not a good idea. So always try and get somebody that is willing to help you and go there. When you arrive at the police station, if you've got your friend with you, let your friend speak to the
Commanding officer.
It's not actually the commanding officers. When you walk into the police station, you've got it's also like the information guy in the front there that you need to sort of tell him what has happened. You don't have to stand in the queue. Get your friend to go to the front and say, listen, my friend has been sexually assaulted. I need to see a police officer immediately. And you can actually ask for a room on your own, a private room, and you can insist on getting a female officer to come and take your statement. You don't have to have a male officer to take your statement. The big thing is that if you've been violently sexually assaulted, always remember that you can't take your clothes. You can't take off your clothes. You have to go in that clothing. So if that happens to you, don't shower, don't do any of that. Just go like that. I know it's horrific, but you have to just bait fast, because if you don't, the perpetrator is going to get away. And he might do it to somebody else. And I think that we want to try and break the cycle. And as women, I know it's hard. And it's hard for us to even think about reporting something like this. But if we don't report it, we're actually opening up the door for somebody else to be hurt. And, you know, the time for us to just think about ourselves and our own families and our own lives, it's over. For Women's Warehouse wants to remind women that it's not just about you. And this is like the whole big topic.
Yes.
It's about womanhood. It's about your sister sitting next to you. But going back to the police station, also always remember, and you know, your friend needs to take an extra pair of clothing with you, because unfortunately you're going to have to give them your clothing as evidence, and they're going to have to do a rape, if you've been raped, a test and all the rest of it. Very traumatic, and unfortunately our police system is not great, but you have to report it. I think that's the end of the day. We've also got other contacts and shelters where you can go, and we've actually got a list of them, and we can quickly go through it, but we will have it on our website. Please go to our website, download the PDF, and what's nice about this is you can actually just make a copy of it and stick it on your fridge, or put it in your diary, and have those numbers handy for if you ever find yourself in that situation. So really it's Power, which is people opposed to women abuse. They're amazing, and you know, you phone them and they will definitely help you. And then we have Childline. Now Childline is very, very effective. If you know, we had an incident where we had a little boy that went missing, and I can promise you within 5 minutes the cops were there. So they're very, very good. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, phone them.
And also, if a child has been involved in sexual violence, it's a very different procedure to what an adult would be. So, you know, we need to create safe spaces for children as well. So there's a lot of information from Childline as well, that if you know of somebody, there is a procedure. You can't just take the child away, because you can be up for kidnapping. So understand the law behind that as well, and Childline can assist you with that.
Yes, and then we have Families South Africa, FAMSA. Also, you know, this is they help a lot of families with domestic violence and all of this. But if you find yourself that you might be in a relationship and your partner's abused you, or your husband's abused you, you can actually call them. Also very good, where they will come in with counsellors and actually counsel you as a family, not just you and your partner, but your children as well, and help you to actually heal as a family and look at the things that where changes can take place. And I think that's very important.
Yes.
Because the family at the end of the day is the unit that actually creates stability for your children and raising stable children.
Absolutely. And what we're seeing at the moment is not people of sound mind. And what's going on at the moment is a very spiritual thing, and that's where the enemy wants to create divide within the family as well. So the family unity is vitally important.
Very, very much so. Then we have the Tears Foundation. So they also do counselling. They've got advocates, you know, those domestic violence, sexual assault and child sexual abuse, and they provide you help as well. Also very, very good foundation to go to. And then the Trauma Centre, and then you have the Tutzela Care Centres as well, where you can go, but we'll put these names up for you. Just want to make sure if I haven't missed anyone. And then we have also for elder abuse. So there's a lot of old people that get abused. And unfortunately you find this with helpers, you find this with family members. And if you ever see an old person being abused, I mean, I believe it in my heart. It's something that's dear to me. I love old people. And when an old person is abused, you know, they can't defend themselves. They're almost like a baby. They
Yes.
like children.
Yes.
You know, there is a helpline for them where you can get. So if you see that happening, go and report that, because this is just something that is just not right. It's our mandate to look after our old people and our elders in our country.
Yeah, and I think also what we must remember is that we are so, and we always use the same words, and it's going to be the same, we are very desensitized.
Yes.
We feel like if our home is okay, then everything is okay, and we need to get out of that. If we want South Africa, even the world, to start and taking notice, you start in your own home, and then you move out and you say, my sister's in trouble, you know, the elderly is in trouble, I know of someone. The first thing you can do is actually stand up and use your voice.
Yes.
Because everybody's voice is important. So if that's anything that I want to say, is that this is not for our health. We are the voice. We've been, you know,
the voice of the
voiceless. But it starts, we can't do it on our own. There's 29 million women in our country. How many million men? We can't do it on our own.
No.
So if these sessions are to educate you that you can have a voice and stand with confidence and conviction and say, no, that isn't okay. No, you won't hurt that person. Or I know of somebody, I'm going to go to the police station, I'm going to do something about it. That action causes a ripple effect.
Yes.
And it's a catalyst for change in our country. So don't be afraid. I know sometimes you don't have courage, but you're going to, the most rewarding things if you actually take that leap of faith and you use courage and you go, I actually changed that person's life.
Yeah.
I mean, you told me about that one time when you were driving, and I think someone hit a lady, and you got up out of your car and you said, it's not okay.
That's not okay.
And
she was screaming because he wanted to drive away. He hit her car, and she was trying to stop him from driving away, and nobody would help her. So I stopped and I said, you will not go drive away.
Yeah.
I stood there, and then eventually other people came to help us. But at the end of the day, if I didn't stop,
Nobody
would
would
have
have.
helped
And that
her.
makes my heart sore. South Africa, we've always been a country that of amazing, warm people. No let violence desensitize us and stop us from who we are. This is not okay.
Yeah.
And the amount of things that I'm actually going back now, and just going back, the amount of things that I've endured in my 42 years of existence is every single one here. It's been an inappropriate look or somebody being inappropriate, and we're just like, okay. And cat calls and whistling is not, what's the word? It's not a compliment.
No.
It's taking away your sexuality as a woman,
Yeah.
and it's actually degrading you. It's not okay. So we need to get back into that where I know we want to be loved and we want people to notice us, and in a society of being noticed and on social media. No, it's not okay. That is how you change the world, is just by changing your attitude to one of these things.
Yeah, and I think to be the one that educates your friends, be the one when your girls go out and somebody does something, you know, to say it's not okay.
Yes.
You know, and stand up for your womanhood.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day.
And you know what, it's contagious.
Yes.
Because if you do that in front of me, and I think that's with our team,
Yes.
we've just become very vocal in that we won't take nonsense. And you know what, and I think it's contagious. So you could be the catalyst for someone else changing their opinion and someone making a difference in a corporate. You never know. You never know who's watching. So
Absolutely. So ladies, we thought we would just educate you guys a little bit on sexual awareness and sexual assault awareness month, which is April. I know we've got a lot of holidays in this month, which is great. But with holidays comes a whole lot of things.
Yes.
And for me, I just want to say to you girls, just look after yourselves, be safe,
yes.
love yourself, love your V. I know we're in this time, you know, sexual assault and all of that, but I know when people are on holiday, they relax, you forget to do things. It's important that you have wisdom as your companion.
Yeah.
That's the big thing for me, is have wisdom with as your companion over this festive season and just when this holiday and this Easter time.
And also, just last thing from me, just looking at sexual violence, rape or sexual assault, attempted rape. The workshops that we do for anti-rape itself, there's an anti-rape syllabus. Guys, even if you're in a marriage, you can protect yourself and look after yourself in those scenarios. So again, like Nadine says, make wisdom your companion in everything. Where you can empower and educate yourself, take the opportunity. This manual is going to be on there, what Nadine has spoken about and what we've chatted about. But just know your surroundings, know where you're going, look after yourself, look after your family. I mean, this could change. We don't want to perpetuate the cycle for our children. We want them to see that there's strong women standing up against the social injustice in our country.
Break the cycle, ladies. Break the cycle. I think that's for Women's Warehouse, that is what we want to do, is break the cycle on everything that people look at as the norm now, when it's not the norm and it's not okay. So you as an individual can do that as well.
So that's it.
That's a wrap for this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And go and have a great Easter.
Yes.
And we will see you guys at the end of the month.
Yes, and remember the reason. God bless, guys. Enjoy Easter.
Okay, bye.
Bye.